In a world that rewards loud performance and punishes quiet clarity, most people learn one mask and cling to it. They polish it, present it, and wear it until it becomes their prison. They are predictable, easy to handle, easy to read, easy to box in. Once the world figures them out, it knows exactly where to push, how to pull, and when to break them. The Sigma male doesn't play that game. He refuses to be confined to one version of himself. He shapeshifts, not to deceive, but to move. His changes are deliberate, controlled, and purposeful, the way a seasoned driver shifts gears on a dangerous mountain road, smooth when needed, aggressive when the moment calls for it, always aware of the terrain. He blends when blending protects his peace. He stands out when standing out advances the mission. He adapts without losing his center, while others adapt themselves into strangers. He studies the battlefield, whether it's a boardroom, a back alley, or a family gathering, mapping its currents, reading its unspoken rules, and deciding exactly when to act. Every step is calculated, every shift is timed. People mistake that for mystery, but it's not mystery, it's mastery. The quiet adjustments, the selective appearances, the ability to move without being tracked, all come from discipline, not accident. He knows that control isn't always about domination, it's about positioning yourself so that when the moment to strike arrives, you're already where you need to be. He is not many different men. He is one man with many interfaces. Each is an extension of the same core, a variation designed for a specific terrain, a specific purpose. This is why he wins where others stall. While the world is still trying to figure him out, he's already on to the next move, shifting gears while everyone else is stuck in neutral. Number 1. Protecting the core without feeding the crowd. The Sigma male operates with one unshakable rule: the center is sacred. His core beliefs, his long-term vision, his emotional fuel, these are not for public consumption. What the world sees is always filtered through what the moment requires: the quiet observer who sees everything but says little, the crisp operator who steps in with precision when action is needed, the easygoing guest who makes others comfortable, or the focused builder who blocks out everything but the task at hand. The exterior changes, but the interior never wavers. The core stays intact, protected like a flame in the wind. He does not pour his inner life into every conversation, nor does he hand over his personal truths just to gain approval. He understands that not every ear deserves access to his reality. In shallow rooms, he sends in a lighter version of himself, a polite, surface-level presence that can smile, nod, and move on without giving anything away. In serious environments, the sharpened version appears, precise, decisive, and fully aligned with the mission. This isn't deception. It isn't performance. It's boundary control. Just as a warrior doesn't reveal his full arsenal to strangers, the Sigma male doesn't offer his energy, his attention, or his private mind to just anyone. By controlling how much of himself the world gets, he preserves his strength for the arenas that matter. The loudest person in the room leaks their power through overexposure, spilling themselves onto everyone until there's nothing left. The Sigma male moves differently. His circle is selective, his focus is narrow, and his power remains concentrated. It's not that he fears being known, it's that he knows being overexposed is the fastest way to be weakened. Number 2. Reading the room, then regulating it. Where most men are swept away by the strongest emotional current in the room, the Sigma male resists being carried anywhere he hasn't chosen to go. He arrives, observes, and takes the temperature before making a single move. He notes who is speaking the most, who is listening the least, who controls the flow of conversation, and where the emotional hotspots are. Once he understands the current, he can redirect it. He lowers his voice when the room is frantic, forcing others to lean in and match his calm. He pauses deliberately when everyone else is rushing, making space for clarity to re-enter the conversation. When the atmosphere is muddled with confusion or competing agendas, he uses short, direct language to cut through the fog. This isn't about dominating the conversation, it's about resetting the emotional metronome. People unconsciously mirror the calmest, most regulated nervous system nearby, and when the Sigma holds his ground, his rhythm becomes the reference point for everyone else. He never announces, "I'm in charge." He doesn't need to. By absorbing chaos instead of adding to it, by slowing the tempo instead of racing to match it, he quietly takes control of the environment. The room begins to think more clearly, not because he ordered it, but because he set a better pace. When the noise fades and the real decisions start to take shape, people call him wise. He simply calls it focus. He didn't win by arguing for the loudest position, he won by owning the rhythm. In a culture hooked on speed, panic, and endless reaction, the man who can set his own pace, and bring others into it, controls the outcome before anyone realizes the game has begun. Number 3. Information first, revelation last. The Sigma male knows that in any exchange, business, negotiation, or casual talk, the first one to spill too much sets the tempo for everyone else. And more often than not, that tempo serves the listener, not the speaker. So he resists the urge to fill silence. He listens with precision, not passivity. His eyes pick up micro-reactions, his ears track not just the words but the hesitations between them, and his mind catalogs patterns. Who interrupts to grab attention? Who quietly keeps their promises? Who tailors their tone for power rather than truth? Every tell is a breadcrumb leading to the deeper truth about a person's motives. He asks lean, targeted questions, just enough to keep others talking, never enough to give away his own map. The goal is not to interrogate, but to let people reveal their priorities, fears, and contradictions without realizing they've done it. When it's his turn to speak, he delivers only what is necessary to move the mission forward. No indulgent monologues. No play-by-play of his strategy. Just clean, minimal information that can't be used to predict his next move. To outsiders, this restraint feels like secrecy, even aloofness. But for the Sigma, it's pure operational efficiency, protecting the plan by keeping it unexposed until it's immune to sabotage. He reveals on a delay, because he understands that results speak louder than intentions. By the time people even guess at what he's building, the foundation is already solid, the structure is already standing, and the payoff is already unfolding. Number 4, code switching without self-betrayal. The Sigma male can move between worlds without losing himself. He can navigate the hum of a factory floor in the morning, step into a high-rise boardroom in the afternoon, train in a boxing gym at night, and still show up for family dinner without missing a beat. He does this not by faking an identity, but by translating, switching his communication style so that the message lands in the language of the environment. With craftsmen, he talks in the language of materials, timing, and hands-on problem solving. With executives, he talks in terms of strategic outcomes, risk assessments, and long-game positioning. With lifelong friends, the currency is stories, loyalty, and shared history. The core message never changes. The truth remains the truth. But the delivery shifts, tone, pacing, choice of words, so that it resonates where it lands. This is not manipulation, it's precision connection. People feel understood in his presence because he speaks to them, not at them. They don't feel managed, they feel met. And that difference is why doors open for him in places where others hit walls. Each environment leaves its mark. He leaves a room with more than he brought in, insights, techniques, cultural nuances, and human truths that sharpen his own perspective. Over time, this ability to bridge worlds makes him a quiet but powerful connector, fluent in many languages without ever betraying his own. Number 5, strategic ambiguity keeps leverage. In a culture addicted to oversharing, where every thought is posted, every plan broadcast, and every move live-streamed for validation, the Sigma male moves in the opposite direction. He doesn't mistake exposure for connection, nor does he confuse transparency with trust. He speaks when there's something worth saying, otherwise, he lets silence do the heavy lifting. His kindness never requires him to hand over his blueprint. If someone starts probing for details about his long-term strategy, finances, private relationships, or the inner gears of his ambition, he gives an answer that is true but incomplete, enough to acknowledge the question, never enough to map his path. This isn't fear. It's protection of optionality. The more people think they know a man's next step, the easier it becomes to trap him in their timelines, steer him toward their priorities, or subtly sabotage his momentum. Predictability is a comfort for others, but a cage for him. Ambiguity, in his hands, is not deceit, it's armor. It keeps his opponents guessing, his allies curious, and his rivals reactive. It buys him time to observe shifts in the terrain before committing, preserves the flexibility to pivot without explanation, and denies anyone the opportunity to use his own words as a weapon against him. When his work is still young, fragile, and growing, he guards it like an ember from the wind. Only when it's strong enough to burn on its own does he reveal it to the world. By then, there's nothing to stop it. Outsiders call it an overnight change. He knows it's the result of months, sometimes years, of quiet, disciplined construction. Number 6, covert leadership. The Sigma male doesn't flash authority like a badge or demand loyalty with a raised voice. His leadership doesn't need a stage, it emerges the moment the room needs stability, clarity, or direction. He isn't chasing the crown, he's fixing the cracks in the foundation. When chaos swirls and voices compete, he finds the friction point and turns it into movement. If two dominant personalities are locked in a public tug-of-war for credit, he shifts the conversation from ego to execution, reframing the problem, carving out clear lanes for each person, and setting deadlines that pull focus back to the mission. He lets them keep the spotlight while he quietly takes control of the current. The result? The room starts moving again, even if no one can point to when the shift happened. His influence is felt more than it's announced. Covert leadership works because he doesn't need applause. He doesn't measure success by recognition, but by the stability and progress of the mission itself. If others walk away believing the victory was their idea, he doesn't correct them. The truth doesn't need his defense, the results are already in motion, and he's already thinking 2 steps ahead. While others fight for the headline, he owns the momentum. And in the long game, that's the only kind of leadership that can't be dethroned. Number 7, seasonal identities and the art of shedding skins. The Sigma male refuses to be held hostage by outdated versions of himself. He understands that life is not one long, unchanging road, it's a series of seasons, each with its own demands, risks, and opportunities. When the season changes, so does he. New boundaries. New routines. New disciplines. If necessary, even a new peer group. He knows that clinging to yesterday's comfort zones is the fastest way to let his edge dull. The habits that built last year's victories might be the very ones holding him back today. To him, personal evolution isn't optional, it's the cost of staying relevant, powerful, and free. If an identity, belief, or association no longer serves the mission, he doesn't drag it into the future out of nostalgia. He thanks the man he was for getting him this far, then lets that version go without ceremony. No grand social media declarations. No dramatic farewells. Just a quiet, decisive shift. This process unnerves people who cling to familiar patterns because they confuse change with betrayal. But to the Sigma male, holding on to every old version of himself would turn him into a museum, a static display of outdated achievements. He would rather be a workshop, alive, adaptive, and in motion. Progress always demands a toll, comfort, predictability, even relationships that can't grow with him. He pays it without hesitation, because staying the same is the most expensive failure of all. Number 8, the vanish and return cycle. The Sigma male understands that visibility and value are not the same thing. In a world obsessed with staying on the radar, he intentionally steps off it. When the mission demands focus, he disappears, not as an act of retreat, but as an act of concentration. He vanishes into the work. While others burn energy in endless debates and public displays of effort, he's in the shadows refining his craft. While they post daily progress for approval, he's measuring quiet gains in strength, skill, and strategy. He denies himself the dopamine hit of constant validation, because he knows it kills patience, and patience is the currency of mastery. During this vanish, he strips away distractions, studies the metrics that matter, and sharpens the weapons of his trade. His environment is stripped to essentials, tools, data, discipline. No noise. No unnecessary movement. When he returns heavy. Stronger body. Sharper execution. Cleaner plans. Results that can't be faked. The transformation is so stark that people assume it must have happened overnight. He lets them believe that. The real timeline is his secret. Then, just as they begin to expect his presence again, he disappears once more, into the next cycle of building. Vanish to sharpen. Return to deploy. Repeat until mastery is undeniable. This rhythm confuses those who measure existence by constant exposure. To them, disappearing feels like irrelevance. To him, disappearing is how relevance is built. He's not chasing visibility, he's chasing mastery. And mastery doesn't announce itself until it's ready to dominate. Number 9, controlled access to energy. The Sigma male treats his time, focus, and emotional bandwidth like an elite athlete treats oxygen, limited, valuable, and never wasted on the wrong terrain. He knows that constant availability weakens both presence and power. So, he structures his access like a fortress, not impenetrable, but highly selective. To some, he seems hard to reach. In reality, he's not hiding, he's filtering. He decides who gets instant responses, who waits, and who never gets a reply at all. This isn't arrogance, it's resource management. He understands that every conversation, every meeting, every quick favor comes with an invisible cost. Too many of the wrong costs, and the mission starves. By controlling access, he forces people to approach him with clarity and purpose. Those who truly value his input learn to be precise. Those who don't fall away on their own. In this way, he eliminates 90% of noise without a single confrontation. And when he does give his time, it lands with weight. People listen harder because they know he's not sprinkling his attention everywhere. In a culture addicted to constant connection, he's proof that scarcity makes presence more powerful. Number 10, silent reputation engineering. The Sigma male doesn't waste time shouting about what he's doing, he lets the results shape the narrative. But that doesn't mean he leaves perception to chance, he manages it quietly, through consistent patterns that speak louder than declarations. He knows that reputation isn't built in a week, it's a slow accumulation of signals, the way he handles conflict, the precision of his work, the boundaries he enforces without apology. People start to associate him with certain traits, reliability, depth, discipline, because he embodies them over time, not because he demands recognition. When others gossip or speculate about him, he doesn't rush to correct them. He lets curiosity do the heavy lifting. The less he explains, the more people fill in the blanks with their own theories, and often, those theories are more flattering and intimidating than anything he could have claimed directly. This silent engineering means he enters rooms with influence already working in his favor. Deals are easier to close, opportunities find him faster, and enemies think twice before challenging someone whose reach they can't quite measure. In a world where everyone is screaming for attention, he's the man people lean in to hear, because mystery is still a currency. Number 11, precision in saying no. The Sigma male understands that every yes is a contract, an agreement to invest time, energy, and reputation. That's why he uses the word no like a craftsman uses a scalpel, carefully, but decisively. He doesn't reject things out of habit, he rejects them because he has already calculated the cost of saying yes. He's not rude. In fact, his refusals are often so calm and well-reasoned that people walk away respecting him more. He can decline an offer, opportunity, or social invite without leaving bruised egos. The power is in his clarity, he knows exactly why it doesn't fit his mission, and he doesn't need to over-explain. This selective acceptance is how he keeps his life free of clutter, mental, emotional, and logistical. Every yes he does give is deliberate, and therefore carries weight. People learn quickly, if he commits, he follows through at a high standard. That makes his agreement a rare and valuable currency, one that can't be bought with flattery or pressure. Number 12, mastery of the pivot. The Sigma male knows that clinging to a failing path is just ego in disguise. When the ground shifts, he pivots, not in panic, but in precision. This skill makes him dangerous in competitive spaces, because while others double down to save face, he's already rerouting toward a better angle. His pivots aren't desperate or erratic, they're calculated exits and entries. He gathers information quietly, spots shifts in the environment earlier than most, and changes course before the damage is visible to outsiders. To some, it looks like luck. In truth, it's an early warning system built on observation, adaptability, and emotional detachment from sunk costs. Because he moves without broadcasting the pivot, competitors don't realize he's changed the game until they're still playing the old one. The result? He stays ahead, not by being faster, but by refusing to stay stuck. In his world, the ability to walk away from the wrong fight is just as important as the ability to win the right one. Final words. In a culture that mistakes volume for power, the Sigma male chooses precision. He shapeshifts because life changes speed, and he refuses to stall in the wrong gear. He protects his core, reads the room, and regulates its pace. He gathers information before revealing position. He speaks the right language without betraying his values. He stays ambiguous where leverage matters and leads without demanding the stage. He sheds skins on time, vanishes to sharpen, and returns with results that need no explanation. To be this kind of man is not to hide, it's to move with intent. It's to be steady enough to change without losing the center. The world will try to box him, praise him, or condemn him for the same quiet behavior. None of that matters. What matters is the mission, the standard, and the proof he brings back. That is what it means to be a Sigma male, not a mascot for rebellion, but a craftsman of identity. Steering his life by design instead of drift, adapting without surrendering, and walking forward with a calm that cannot be faked.